Thank you, friends, for all being here on a weekend. Before I say something on the subject of the press conference, on behalf of my party and all my colleagues here, I'd like to express deep condolences on the death of one of the tallest visionaries early this morning, Dr. Kurian. There have been very few people of his caliber and vision whose contribution in the field of Operation Flood, the milk production, actually changed the very nature of that commodity in India. He had a fulfilled life. He died at the age of 90. And I think he's one of the tallest Indians of this generation. Well, today when we are holding this press conference, it's a coincidence that the pain that Goa has been feeling over the last few years, which had become one of the great scandals in the history of Goa, the illegal mining and its resultant corruption, has today virtually engulfed the central government also. In Goa, whatever we had been saying, and our leaders here have been saying over the last few years, bringing this issue to the forefront, stands virtually established. We do hope that the guilty are brought to justice, and this loot that had taken place in the state, which besides being a fraud on the public exchequer, was also detrimental to the most vital asset of Goa, its environment. At a national level, over the last 4 or 5 years, some of our leaders and members of parliament had been repeatedly raising this issue. In fact, 2 of our MPs, Shri Ahir and Shri Prakash Javadekar, I take this opportunity to thank them on behalf of the party, have for the last few years been actively corresponding with the government, the Chief Vigilance Commissioner, as to the nature of this coal block allocation fraud which has taken place. It was on their complaint that the CVC had referred the matter to the CBI. But now that the facts have broadly come out in the CAG report, and more than the CAG report, the media is almost by the day publicizing new facts, none of which has been denied. One thing is clear, that you've had a very large discretionary, arbitrary, and for a corrupt motive, allocation of 142 coal blocks by the central government. This allocation finally is done by the screening committee of the coal ministry. And it's done during a period when the Prime Minister, unfortunately, was the coal minister. So unlike the 2G spectrum scandal, where the Prime Minister as the head of the government was a part of the collective responsibility and could be considered vicariously liable, in this case he is directly liable and responsible. It is his ministry. And therefore the standards of accountability which apply to A. Raja, the standards of accountability applicable to the Prime Minister must be far more stringent. That is the essence of democracy. For any government to survive and govern, it obviously needs a mandate. It needs leadership, and it needs credibility. Mandate comes from the last electoral results. That's how you are voted to power. But leadership and credibility have been completely eroded. Leadership has been eroded to the extent that there is a complete policy paralysis. There is inability to govern. There is inability to give direction to this country. I don't think even the members and leaders of the Congress party today are in a position to contend that the present leadership of the government is capable of leading them in the next elections. Impliedly, even they have given up. It has no stake left in the future. There is no reason why such lackluster leadership must now be forced on the country, particularly at a time where the country is passing through a serious economic crisis. As far as credibility is concerned, the credibility of this government is at rock bottom. From cash for votes to the Volcker scandal, to the 2G allotment, to the corruption in the organization of the Commonwealth Games, and now the coal block allocation. Needless to say that the coal block allocation is the biggest of all these scandals. A loss of 1,86,000 crores and a corresponding gain to the private parties. All these coal blocks have been allocated without charging a rupee. Nobody has paid a rupee. The Prime Minister's office, pending amendment to the law where competitive bidding would come, delayed the whole process by 8 years and made these 142 allocations. The CAG has calculated the loss, which is the difference between the cost of mining and the final cost of product. That's the gain which has gone on into the pockets of the private parties. Sham arguments are being raised. No mining, no loss. If there is no mining, what was the hurry in allocating these 142 blocks? The government has lost title, private parties have gained,